Okay, let's get started with the digestive system models. First thing I want to show you is the maxilla bone right here. Here is your mandible bone right here. Turn it around like this. So here's your mandible bone. Hopefully you see that. Now we're going to come over here to these models here, and you will see the maxilla bone right here. You see it's cut away, exposing the roots of the teeth. We can see the mandible bone right here. So maxilla again, mandible. Now you see the incisors here and here, and then you see the canines here and here, and of course you see your premolars and your molars in the back here. So right over here on some of these others on this same model here, you can see that you have baby teeth that's coming in right here, and you can see that the permanent teeth are fixing to come in on this one here. So I think I've showed you all the teeth here. So incisors, canine, premolar, and molars. Remember that the enamel is going to be composed of hydroxyapatite, which is the same type of material that's associated with bone. Okay, let's move on to the next thing here. Let me get my list. So the next thing that we have is the oral cavity. So right here you have your oral cavity, all this in here, and you can see the tongue. You can see the maxilla bone here again, and you can see the soft palate, and you can see the uvula right there. And then right in here would be the eustachian tube that's going to be coming into the pharynx area right there. Alright, so right here you have salivary glands. So right here, beneath the tongue or under the tongue, you would have your sublingual gland, and then the submandibular gland, sublingual, submandibular, and then this right here is the digastric muscle, and this right here is the styloglossus muscle. And remember, maxilla bone, mandible bone, and then you flip this head around and you will see the parotid gland. This would be your masseter muscle here. Masseter muscle. And I have another head, which I forgot to drag out. And it's got the other stuff on it. So, sorry about having to get that head for you. So, right here, we have the nasopharynx area, your oral pharynx area, and then your laryngeal pharynx area. So all this area here would be your pharynx. Now, what is this? Maxilla bone again, your soft palate, and your uvula. This right here is your epiglottis. So, uvula, epiglottis, made up of elastic cartilage. Okay, during swallowing, remember that the uvula is going to close off this nasal cavity here. This is going to prevent fluids and food from going up into the nasal cavity, going up into the nasal pharynx. up into the nasal cavity. This is your oral cavity. This is your oral pharynx. So nasal pharynx, and then you have your oral pharynx and laryngeal pharynx. This is the epiglottis right here. So epiglottis is right here. Remember that the epiglottis flops down over the trachea during swallowing. So remember that your uvula is going to close off this area here, as I've pointed out in lecture. And the epiglottis is going to close off the tracheal windpipe. So there's no food or fluids going to be going out this way or going down the wrong tube, which would be the trachea. Right here, this is review for you. This is the vocal fold right here, and this is the vestibular fold. Okay, this is your epiglottis right here. So remember, your epiglottis is going to be posterior to your trachea. Did I say the wrong word? I'm sorry. Your esophagus is posterior to your trachea. Your esophagus is posterior to your trachea. So, trachea, esophagus. Okay, let's go over here now. Back to this model. We see right here, this is the trachea. Remember, trachea is anterior or ventral to your esophagus. This structure right here is the esophagus. This structure right here is the descending or the thoracic aorta. And you can follow the esophagus down. This right here is the liver. I'm going to take it out. And right here is the stomach. Now if you look up in here, you'll see the esophagus going down, and it's piercing the diaphragm, which is that right there. So it's piercing the diaphragm, and we can see that the esophagus is going to enter the stomach here. This little section here is called the cardiac sphincter or the cardiac orifice. Cardiac sphincter or cardiac orifice. Okay? Now, this brings us to the anatomy of the liver. So we'll do the anatomy of the liver now. So let me set this where it won't rock anymore than it has to. So right lobe, left lobe. Okay? This ligament here is called the falciform ligament. Okay, let's turn it around. Right here, we see the quadrate lobe, right here. And you see the caudate lobe. Vena cava right there. Vena cava is right there. Okay? We can see the superior vena cava. And this would be the inferior vena cava right here. Let's see if there's anything else here that we haven't touched bases on. Gallbladder. Gallbladder is going to be on the inferior surface of your liver. Inferior surface of your liver. And this is going to concentrate the bile. This will concentrate the bile. So here is your gallbladder, cystic duct, and you can see the vessels right here. This red one here is your common hepatic artery. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Common hepatic artery. This blue one here, and you'll see it on the cat, excuse me, This purple one here is the hepatic portal vein. I'll just say those again. Common hepatic artery, hepatic portal vein, vena cava, falciform ligament, quadrate lobe, caudate lobe. Okay, I think we're good. Now, let's move on to the stomach. Here's a stomach I got right here. So the esophagus right here. This right here is your cardiac orifice or sphincter, fundus of stomach, pylorus right here, and you'll have your greater curvature and lesser curvature. When you look at the dissection, you will see that the greater omentum is going to hang along the surface here of the greater omentum. Excuse me, said the wrong thing. When you look at the dissection, you will see that the greater omentum is going to hang along the surface here of this greater curvature of the stomach. Okay, and right here is your lesser curvature. So greater curvature, lesser curvature. Okay, let's open this thing up here. So you'll see your cardiac orifice here, and you'll see the sphincter right here. This starts the duodenum right here. The duodenum is your first part of your small intestines. The duodenum is your first part of your small intestines. Rugae right here. Here's the stomach that goes along with this torso model here. So you have your cardiac orifice here, your fundus, your greater curvature. Remember that your greater omentum is going to hang along the surface of this greater curvature like an apron. And then you have your lesser curvature here, pylorus, and then you have your pyloric sphincter, which is going to be inside. You open it up just like the other stomach model. You can see your greater curvature right here. You can see the lesser curvature right here, and you can see the cardiac orifice, pyloric sphincter. Okay, let me show you something else here. So again, let me put this back together. You can see that you have the cardiac orifice right here, and then further up here would be your esophagus, and then right here we see that the pylorus is going to connect to the duodenum, your first part of your small intestine. So let's move this structure right here. This is your transverse colon I'm removing. And let's remove, well, let's just keep it like this here. So here's your duodenum right here. Most of you, when you're looking at the PDF file online, it's showing you this right here, the back part of it. So that's your duodenum right there. This is your pancreas right here. And you can see the duodenum right here, and you can see the hepatic portal vein, which is purple right here. When you look at the cat dissection, it's yellow. I've already pointed that out to you. So anyway, right here, this structure is your pancreas. Notice that you have the pancreatic duct right here. Remember that your pancreas is going to do two functions. Your pancreas will be associated with producing the pancreatic juice, which is alkaline fluid, which contains a lot of enzymes that's going to aid in digestion. Whenever food goes from the very acidic stomach, right here, very acidic, low pH, when the chyme from the stomach enters the duodenum, there's going to be, secretion from the pancreas that's going to increase the pH. Now, there's going to be a small amount of chyme released, so not all the contents of the stomach are released at the same time into the duodenum. So a small amount, which is like 10 to 15 mils or so. Okay, so we have the duodenum. You have the jejunum. The jejunum is the upper 2/3 of the small intestines, and then you have the ileum, which is the lower 3/3, 3/5. So I might be getting our numbers wrong here. The jejunum is the upper 2/5, and then you have the ileum, which is the lower 3/5. So jejunum, upper 2/5, and ileum, lower 3/5. So, I think I got it right. Mesentery, you'll see that on the dissection. Okay, we want to move further on down. So remember, just go over this one more time here. Not meaning to bore anybody to death, but the duodenum, jejunum, ileum. And then you can see a little bit of the distal part of your ileum here. And you can see that it's going to also be right here. And it's going to go into this blind gut here, or cecum. Here's the cecum right here. Now there's a sphincter right there called the ileocecal sphincter right here. Your ileocecal sphincter. So this is your cecum right here, the inside of it, and here is your ileocecal sphincter. Okay? Now, when you look at the colon, I'll just put this together. You will see that you have your, well, if I can get it together, you will have the ascending, transverse, descending, sigmoid. Okay? Now, let me pull this out here. This will insert out. And I'm going to show you, so this is the rectum right here, part of it. This right here is the external anal sphincter. Okay? And here you have the urinary bladder right here, obviously. And I forgot to show you another thing here. So here is your cecum. Now close by you will have the appendix, and this one is missing. Let me show you one that has an appendix. So right here we see the back side of it here, and we see the appendix right there. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. I do want to show you this right here real quick for both male and female. So just to review, you have your external anal sphincter. This is the rectum right here. Same thing with the female. This is the urinary bladder here. Urinary bladder here. External anal sphincter. And this is the rectum right here. And that's the anus there. And there. Okay. And let's see. Let's move on to another thing. Here we have this little model here. So here is the liver. Here is the spleen. This is the gallbladder. This is the cystic duct. This is the common bile duct. And this is the pancreatic duct. And this is the pancreas. So the common bile duct right here, that's green. And the pancreatic duct is feeding into the duodenum right here. Okay. Maybe I can go over this real quick here. This right here is showing you the villi. The villi, and this model is the intestinal villi model. So remember that villi are going to be associated with the intestines, the small intestines. I forgot to show you one thing here, and I apologize. I might have showed it to you. Rugae is of the stomach. And let me find the other stomach here. So here's rugae right here. That's going to increase the surface area. Now when you think about villi, there's going to be millions of villi associated with the intestines. And they're going to be sort of arranged in sort of like a rifle like formation, sort of a spiraling like formation. And we can see that for each villus you have these simple columnar epithelial cells. Simple columnar epithelial cells. And then right here you can see these little depressions here. These are goblet cells. Right there, right there. And you see that the nuclei are near their basement membrane. This right here is blood vessels. This is a lacteal here. It's a lacteal. These are capillaries which are going to be involved in absorption of the food. You know, these cells are going to work to absorb the nutrients in the food molecules, and of course they're going to be absorbed into the capillaries here. This is a lacteal here. We can see a blow-up of the simple columnar epithelial cells, and you can see the goblet cells here, here. We can see sort of a crypt right here. And then let me show you some of these structures here, big picture. So if you look right here, you will see the serosa right here. So this is the serosa right here. I got that wrong. Forget what I just said. This is the serosa right here. Serosa is right here. This is the mucosa. This is the mucosa. Right here. Sorry. This is the mucosa. So you have your mucosa. Let me zoom out here. So we have the mucosa, all this right here. So we have the villus here. Here's the villus. Here's the villus. We have a lacteal here. This right here is the muscularis mucosa. This is the submucosa. This right here is the muscularis externa here, and this is the serosa. So let me say that again. Mucosa area here. submucosa. These two layers here are the muscularis externa, and this particular layer right here is called the circular muscularis, right there, and this right here is called the longitudinal muscularis, and there's your serosa and capillaries. Remember, there's going to be many cells of many cells that's going to make up the villi. These cells are simple columnar epithelium, as we see here, and we do have goblet cells right here. And I think that's all I have time for.